Hey, let's talk about contraception. Yes, that way to prevent babies. Because guess what? Not everybody needs a baby, and not everybody should have a baby. All right. So, what is contraception? Contraception is a way to prevent pregnancy. However, contraception has some other uses. It also helps to control heavy bleeding, as well as endometriosis, as well as stabilize ovarian cysts. All right. What does contraception not do? Contraception does not prevent sexually transmitted infections, such as, or sexually transmitted diseases, or STDs, such as gonorrhea, chlamydia, herpes, syphilis, HIV, trichomonas, and hepatitis. It will not prevent those, all right? But it will prevent pregnancy. What are the forms of contraception? The forms include barriers, which would be condoms and cervical diaphragms. There's spermicidal. Now, some people can just use the spermicidal itself. I really don't see the point of that, but they can. Which is nonoxynol 9, which means it kills sperm. However, if you don't use enough of it and sperm get around it, then it's not really very effective. So usually nonoxynol 9 or a spermicidal is used in conjunction with a barrier, which is condoms or a cervical diaphragm. Then you have pills. Pills you take every day and get a period once a month, or you can take a pill every day and get a period every 3 months. It just depends. There's the patch. You put it on for 3 weeks, you take it off the last week. There is the Nuva ring, which is a silicone ring, not latex based. So for all those with latex allergy, this is a silicone based ring, so you will not have an allergy to it. You put it in for 3 weeks, you take it out the 4th week. And it really is a ring. And you have to put it into your vagina and you take it out of your vagina. It should not be a big deal. If you're having sex, there's something already going into your vagina that's not a part of you. So I don't see why a Nuva ring is going to be a big deal. But some women get so squirmy about the concept of sticking their finger in their vagina to get something in or to take something out. I don't get that. But anyways. There is also Depo-Provera, which is 3 months of protection. There is Implanon or Nexplanon, which is akin to Depo-Provera, and that is 3 years of protection. And that's a rod that goes right in your arm right there. Then there are Mirena, which is 5 years, and that looks like a T, and it is also made of silicone, and it goes into the uterine cavity. And then there is the copper IUD, which is 10 years of protection, and it has no hormones whatsoever, and that also goes into the uterus. And then you've got your tubal ligation, your hysterectomy, and of course the last one and most effective against, now your most effective is, you have 2 that are the most effective. But one provides an extra advantage. Hysterectomy is your most effective. Your other most effective is abstinence. And abstinence is also 100% effective against sexually transmitted diseases. But I know that that's not everybody, and that's not everybody's life. So we have contraception to meet everyone's needs. All right. What is the most effective form of contraception? Like I just said, abstinence, hysterectomy. After that, it's your long-acting contraception. Your copper IUD or Paragard, your Mirena IUD. And when I say IUD, intrauterine device, so it goes into your uterus. And then your Nexplanon. Those are all very effective. After that is your tubal ligation. You're getting your tubes tied. And it's not really a tying of the tubes, but that's how we think of it. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but I'm not going to go into that. It's a tubal ligation. Then after that is your Depo-Provera, and then after that is your NuvaRing and your patch. And the only reason why it goes in that order is because when you take out humans, us folks that have to do something every day, the success rate goes extremely high. If you put us in the mix like condoms and pills, not so effective. So your longer acting forms of birth control are more effective than the as needed base of birth control. All right. What are side effects? So each of them have their own set of side effects. Obviously, barrier protection such as condoms and diaphragm, if you're allergic to that particular in um, um, not ingredient, not cooking, but the material that it's made out of, it can cause infection. If you are allergic to the noxinol 9, not infection, allergy, it can cause irritation in the vagina and an allergy and possibly even a discharge. So that's barriers. Not many side effects. The only thing with barriers is that you don't know. I don't know how someone can put a condom on improperly, but it can happen. Then sometimes condoms fall off. That's possible. And sometimes you have some idiots who decide that they want to get you pregnant, or they have some revenge and they take the condom off midway and you have no idea. So that's why if you're a lady, I would make sure you're taking birth control so that you can prevent yourself from getting pregnant, because you never know with some of these guys out here. All right, so then you've got your pills. Side effects with pills. You can get some water retention, which for some people they'll say, "Oh, I've gained weight." It's usually only a couple pounds, maybe 2 to 3. You can have depending on the dose of estrogen in your birth control, you can have breakthrough bleeding. You can get upset stomach, which would be nausea. You can have headaches. Birth control pills can also decrease your sex drive, or what we call libido. Boom, boom, boom. Anyways, libido. So those are some side effects with it. If you are older, meaning age 35 and older, smoke and have high blood pressure, birth control is probably not for you. It becomes unsafe just because there is a rare risk of clots. It's not common, but it is rare because birth control across the board increases the risk of blood clots. It can happen, but it's very, very rare. All right. Then you've got your patch. The patch you absorb actually more estrogen in the patch than you do a pill, so the increased risk of clots is even a little bit higher in the patches. It's not one that I put on women that are very overweight, or women that are smokers, just because of that risk. You also have NuvaRing. NuvaRing's biggest issue that women complain about all the time is the discharge. They come in, they got a discharge, they think they got an infection, and it's not an infection, it's just the ring. And so a lot of people discontinue using NuvaRing because of the discharge. So let's talk about Depo. Depo-Provera is a love-hate relationship. Many women love it because after they've used it for at least 6 months to a year, they don't have a period whatsoever. But that first 3 months can be the worst. My nose itches. The worst period of time, because you have a lot of irregular bleeding. When I'm talking about irregular, I'm talking about you could be bleeding today, not bleeding tomorrow, then bleeding for the next 2 days, and then not bleeding for another week, and then all of a sudden you're back to bleeding again. And when I'm talking about bleeding, it's more along the lines of spotting to a light period flow. So, but it's annoying because you never know when it's going to happen. That's why it's called irregular. But that's one of its effects. The other side effect that I do not like about Depo, but does not occur in everyone, is weight gain. This is not water retention weight gain. This is like 5 to 15 pound weight gain, which can occur. So it's a lot of weight that you can gain with it. It's not necessarily going to happen to you, but you can. So you always want to make sure across the board, doesn't matter what your medical condition, what you're taking, what you're doing, eating a healthy diet and exercising on a regular basis. When I say a regular basis, at least 4 to 6 times a week is regular exercise for 30 minutes at least. Okay, so you're going to want to do that. The next thing is Nexplanon, which goes in the arm. It's a little silicone ring, a silicone rod about this long. It's not very thick, and it goes in your arm. It's there for 3 years. It too can cause irregular bleeding. It too can cause weight gain. But other than that, it's pretty good. But some people, like anything, they may not tolerate that. So, that's why you have so many different forms of birth control or contraception, because not everything works for everybody. What works for, Miss Sally down the road may not work for Keisha up the street, or, whoever. Everybody's different. So that's why you have different forms of birth control. Now you've got Mirena and the copper IUD. Both of those are very effective. The Mirena is 5 years. The copper IUD is 10 years. Anyways, the Mirena works well, and it's actually one of your more effective forms of birth control. It's been getting a bad reputation. What is its biggest issue? The biggest issue is if someone puts it in wrong, meaning instead of putting it into your cavity, they actually put it into the wall, into the meat of the uterus, or they actually go through the uterus into your abdominal wash, which is your colon, where your colon are. That's a problem. It's a big problem. And it will need to be removed, not in 2 months, but immediately if it's placed in the wrong location, and it causes a lot of pain when it's placed and complications. But if it's put in properly, it works well. Now the biggest thing that happens if it's put in properly is you may sustain cramping or irregular bleeding. But like the other forms that are long-acting, Mirena, by 80 to 85% of women by year 1 have no period whatsoever. So it works well. It's more effective than getting your tubes tied. But it's just had a bad rap, and that's just because you make sure whoever puts it in right, and afterwards that they do an ultrasound to make sure it's in the cavity. Same thing with the copper IUD. It needs to be in the cavity. You just got to make sure it's in the right place. It too can cause cramping and irregular bleeding, even more than the Mirena. But it's 10 years, it's cheap, and most people who want long-acting forms of birth control in the world use a copper IUD. United States, we use mainly Mirena, and I think that's just because Mirena, the company that manufactures Mirena, has done a job in advertising and getting the word out, versus the company that does the copper IUD they don't do a lot of advertising, actually. So not a lot of women even know that it's out there, but a lot of women in other countries know about the copper IUD. All right, and then you've got your tubal ligation. They don't really tie the tube. They don't really like shoestrings and tie the tube. It's not like that. They actually cut out a large chunk of the middle portion. They suture each end, and then they burn the ends. And it's a good space. Like there's no way that these tubes are going to come back together by any form of inflammation or whatnot. So if it's done properly, the tubal ligation will not fail. But if done improperly, it will fail. And then hysterectomy is just taking your uterus out. You ain't got nothing to hold a baby in the first place. And of course, abstinence. So those are different forms of contraception. How do you choose one? You choose one based on what you want. If you want something long-acting, or what your insurance will pay for, and what you are willing to pay for. Now, in terms of costs, if you look at long-term costs, your longer-acting medicines are more cost-effective than the birth control pills, or the patch or the ring. Over that period of time, they are more cost-effective. But everyone has their own thing. Some people like having a period every month. They feel like that cleanses them. Anyways, I don't get that. It just doesn't make sense to me. But everyone has different things they want to achieve, or what their insurance will pay for, what they can afford. So the best one is the one in which you are more likely to use, stay with, and causes the least amount of side effects in you. All right? And that is pretty much it. If you have any questions, let me know. See you.